I was chatting with Jules today about anxiety, and she was giving me some insights, but what she was saying really interested me, because what anxiety actually is, and I often say, okay, well, yeah, it's fear coming up, it's the sympathetic nervous system, it's a nervous system response, it's a trauma response, it's fear coming through, it's fight or flight, and we're like on edge and all these things. But she's like, yeah, but it's what it really is, what anxiety really is like there's an emotion that wants to be expressed. And maybe let's take anger, for example, anger or disappointment or frustration. As that emotion wants to come through and be expressed and be seen and heard, what's happening often, I think, and what Jules was saying, is that like the anxiety is our inner child holding a lid on it, being like, not safe, not safe, not safe. And we don't feel safe in that moment to express ourselves authentically, from experiences as a child where maybe we weren't allowed to, or we were discouraged from expressing our fullest emotions, and we didn't feel like it was safe to do that because we were upsetting too many people, or we were too much for people, and so we would dull down our expression of ourselves and eventually learn just to not express at all, because that would keep everybody else much happier. That was I think a lot of children's sort of experience in childhood, especially if you were quite an emotional and quite an expressive child. A lot of adults couldn't handle that because they're not in touch with their own emotional expressions, and so they were just being triggered by their children the whole time, and so they were telling their children to shh, because it's getting you're being too much. And so as an adult, as that texture of that emotion wants to come up and be expressed, the inner child is like putting a lid on it and being like, not safe, not safe, not safe. You're going to be told off. You're not going to be loved. The inner child is like, if you express this authentic feeling, you will be told off, told to shut up, and all these people will love you less. Ooh, that's the reality of it. So the anxiety is the lid of the emotional texture that wants to be expressed. So now what? Okay, well, if there's something that wants to be expressed and come through, it's important, I suppose, if you're interested in actually feeling that emotion, so that you can become, not like you can integrate it. You don't want to get rid of it. You turn it from being like a distortion, like an uncomfortable texture, a darkness or a negative. By feeling it, you transmute it into being light, from darkness into light, from density into energy. That's alchemy. That's what our bodies do. And so the anxiety is like, you know, it's like saying thank you to the anxiety, because it's an indicator that there's something that wants to come through and be felt. And how do we do that? We can do that by speaking vulnerably and openly to professionals like a therapist or a coach or a friend who is good at holding that kind of space, someone who's done that kind of work and is familiar with that kind of work. And you can be and express your most authentic, what you would consider unlovable parts of you to this person, and they will still love you and not judge you. That's the kind of safe container that can be created. Also through breathwork journeys. If you feel like you're someone like me who was struggling, you're like, yeah, I've got these textures that want to come through and be felt, but I feel like there's such a blockage that I can't cry. I get that from a lot of men saying like, oh, you're so lucky that you can actually like turn the waterworks on and have a good cry and release all these emotions. I can't cry. There's a blockage there. Breath work is a really good way of diving right down deep and fucking pulling those emotions right up to be felt. It's a really, really beautiful modality, and I highly, highly recommend it. You can find people running breathwork ceremonies and facilitating breathwork journeys locally to you, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure there is someone doing local breathwork in groups or individually. If you feel like you might not want to have other people around you expressing their emotions too, or you might feel like it's a blockage, do a one-on-one session. There are people online doing Zoom sessions, they're doing Zoom group sessions, and although people are geographically far apart, the energetic portal and the container is still very real. So dive into that breath work if you're feeling like you want to really get in touch with that texture, and face it and look at it and not look away, and like feel the emotions, and to heal our bodies, to cleanse our bodies. Yeah, turn those dense energetic charges, those traumas that we have in our bodies blocking us and preventing our energy systems from flowing smoothly and clearly, those little things that have happened to us that we're holding on to and don't want to look at, don't want to feel, those things, in the cave is where you shall find the gold. To go into that darkness and really have a good look at it, go into that discomfort, because as humans we are either heading towards pleasure or away from pain. That's our tendency. And we can also learn to just sit and be very content. That takes a bit of practice, but most of the time we're either seeking pleasure or moving away from pain. So it's our natural tendency to not want to look at the parts of us that cause us to feel anxious or feel fear, or brings up memories of a traumatic event that happened. But it's exactly in those spaces where we can grow, where we can alchemize, turn lead into gold, baby. It's so great. It's so powerful and so potent. So find your local healer. Hold that kind of space for yourself. Allow yourself to sit with and be with that big cry that's right there that wants to come up, and you just want to fucking break down, fall on your knees and just be like, why? There's fucking nothing. I feel completely hopeless and useless, and that nothing's going right, and just fucking punch a pillow, take that pillow, scream into the pillow. But whatever you do, do it safely, please, but fucking do it. Go there. I promise you, you will find so much strength and you will learn so much about yourself, and afterwards, so much lighter. What was I so afraid of? Actually, that was fucking deep, and I actually feel like I just exorcised some demons out of me. But guess what? Those demons don't have quite as much impact on how I feel about myself, about how I feel about others, about what I believe I deserve in terms of a relationship or a career, about my worthiness, about my value, about how lovable I am. Those demons now don't get to dictate my experience anymore. We're healing. And guess what? When you do it in a safe container, especially anger, it's such a potent anger and rage. There is gold in expressing that anger and rage in a safe way. Not only for the simple fact that if you're someone with a short fuse and you've got a lot of anger within you, you feel like there's quite a lot of it has been built up, and it doesn't take very much for you to like get to the end of your fuse and like rage. If you have the bravery and the courage to acknowledge that and be like, right, I'm going to work with this anger. I'm going to work with it. I'm accepting that it's within me. I know it's not me. It's not who I am. But there is a part of me that wants this anger to be expressed. And I don't want to rage out on the road against people. I don't want to be dangerous to be around, because I know that I'm a loving person. But when these certain things happen, I get triggered to the point where I get red mist come down and this rage boils up, and then I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm not in control of myself. Beautiful. Beautiful awareness. Well done for being so aware of yourself. Like, that's fucking awesome. And that's not easy to admit that and be honest with yourself about that. And what's even more brave and even more courageous is the next step, where you're like, okay, I'm going to create the space for me to safely heal and feel this and alchemize this shit, so that when these triggers happen all around me that are outside of my control and are just part of life, they don't trigger that anger that might come out and ruin mine or someone else's day. Trust me, I used to be the road rage king. I didn't used to lose my shit, because I used to just contain it underneath the anxiety lid. But it was almost even worse, because it doesn't have anywhere to go. So my whole body is raging, but it's not coming out anywhere. And it's like, it's so uncomfortable. So now if someone cuts me up, I'm like, cool. It doesn't bother me. And trust me, it is so much more peaceful. It's so much more peaceful to not be that bothered about other people and their shit, to not get caught up and hooked into other people's anxiety, other people's shit. And not to let your shit come up looking for other people to hook into. You're like, come fight with me, fight with me. More peaceful, a more peaceful world, a more peaceful individual experience, more peaceful driving. Just more peaceful, really. Just like, who doesn't want that? That doesn't mean to say anger is bad. It doesn't mean to say rage is bad. These emotions are just as important as bliss and joy and love and gratitude, because without rage and guilt and shame and sadness and anger, we wouldn't even know what bliss and love and gratitude felt like. It's the whole scale is the scale. That's it. The whole thing is divine. There's no good end and bad end. The whole thing is like people say, either everything is of God or nothing at all. God, the universe, source, spirit, sky daddy, the field, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, it all just is. So now we can start to have a little bit of gratitude for this anger that's coming up. And then even more gratitude for the triggers that bring that anger up, because you're like, more anger within me. I didn't even know I had that anger. I didn't know I had that trigger. Where's that coming from? Doesn't matter. I'm just going to feel it right now. What is that? Where does that come from? And that's where therapy comes in big time. Therapy is a fucking game changer. And it is so sad that as a society for so long we have held it in such a weird sort of taboo, like, oh, you go to therapy, there must be something wrong with you, like you must be fucked up. Newsflash, we're all fucked up. But for real, like, who doesn't want to get to know themselves a little bit better? When we know ourselves, like, surely that's the whole point, right? I'm not running away from myself now anymore. Like, therapy, game changer. If you're feeling like you could use a little bit of guidance and assistance in understanding how you are working, like how your life is how you're operating, how you're showing up in life, why maybe there are some patterns that are emerging, maybe around relationships, maybe around career, maybe around work, or anything. Can you see patterns emerging in your life? Like online, I see TikToks and Instagram videos of like young girls, and it's like some funky music, and they're like, oh, why do I always fall in love with the ones that are bad for me? And it's like, well, if you actually asking that question, or are you just saying it because it's cute? Like, if you're actually asking why you always fall in love with the guys that are bad for you, aka men who are emotionally unavailable, who actually aren't interested in having a deep connection with you beyond the physical, if you're asking that, it's probably something to do with your childhood. It's probably something to do with the parenting. It's probably something to do with your parents' relationship. But all of these things, it doesn't matter, no judgment. But if you're quite happy wondering why you're attracting people into your life who are emotionally unavailable and are afraid of commitment, I know it because I've been on both sides of it, especially the one I'm afraid of commitment. And so I've been diving into that with my therapist. And it's like, whoa, there's a lot to uncover under there. And it's beautiful. And now I can understand myself better and I can change my behavior. I can choose to operate and make choices from a place of consciousness rather than subconscious patterning. And that's the beauty of life, right? That's why old people are so fucking valuable, because they've moved through most of this shit. And they've got those codes. They've got the cheat codes. That's why teachers and coaches are valuable. That's why therapists are valuable. That's why elders are valuable, is because they've been round the fucking sun a few more times. And we think we're so fucking smart as young people that we can just figure it all out ourselves. Newsflash, we can go straight to the source, to the old people, to the people who have done it all before, to the people who have studied trauma, to the people who have studied psychology, therapy, space holding, healing, and have a deep understanding of all the different ways the mind likes to believe stories that are playing out, stories about how we're not worthy of love because we didn't receive enough attention from our parents, stories about how love doesn't exist because that's just the culture that we kind of are perpetuating at the moment, is this refusal to really dive into that feeling of love. But reach out for help. Check that sunlight coming through there. Reach out for that help. There's plenty of people out there who just want to help, and they're fucking good at it too. And after a while, you start to understand why people go to therapy. Because really what's happening is you're unpacking all the things that aren't you. And underneath those layers of the stories that feel very real because our nervous system has a response to those stories. So it feels like those stories are real. But they're just stories. The mind is powerful. Underneath all that, we're peeling back, okay, that's not me. That's also a story. That's not me. You don't throw it away, you integrate it. But underneath, we're just getting closer and closer and closer to the truth of who we really are. We're starting to really get to know ourselves and understand, like, who's the authentic soul within, that's residing within this body. Who is that? What is that? I was about to dive down a whole rabbit hole about souls being eternal and our ego story and our physical bodies being obviously mortal, but we won't do that today. But let me just say, identifying more as the higher self or the soul or the eternal, the soul aspect, that soul don't know no fear unnecessarily. That soul isn't so easily manipulated. That soul doesn't even fear death, because that soul knows that death is just a part of the cycle of life. Doesn't mean we go looking for death. Doesn't mean we don't want to live a long life. It just means it's completely unnecessary, pretty much unnecessary, for us to live in our minds in the future being anxious and worried about when we might die, because that takes us out of the present moment, which is actually all we have, where we actually do the living. So to identify more as a higher self and your soul and get to know that aspect of you, which for me was like, well, I didn't even know there was that aspect of me. I just literally just thought I was Benjamin and that was it. That was the end of the story. And then I was identifying with my results in my sport and my achievements. And I said I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole. Ego is a story, higher self is eternal, end of. That's pretty much it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this this little chat. If you did, go and check out my Patreon, because this is where I talk about this kind of stuff often, and more now actually, that I've also started a Telegram group for my Patreon people, and I'm thinking about starting a Telegram group as well for you guys, especially since there's so much fucking censorship going on online at the moment. Telegram seems to be where it's at. I'll let you know when that happens, but for now, go and check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. It's a really good way of supporting me, and you can also just unsign at any time if you don't feel like it. And if you sign up to the 1111 tribe, you have access to 33 videos that I've posted over the last year or more. You might find something in there that helps you in some way understand maybe what you're moving through in this moment. So yeah, go and check my patreon.com/Benjam Brown, linked in the description. Thanks for listening to this this little video about anxiety. Stay strong out there, guys. I know that's a hard thing to, it's easier said than done, but just have faith and trust that all of the darkness that is coming up in the world right now is coming up because we're shining a light on it. The light is driving the darkness into our awareness. We are in a huge change right now that's going to take a few more years, maybe, yeah, a few more years, but it's going to happen in our lifetime. The transformation that humanity is moving through right now is unprecedented in terms of the conscious awakening that we're experiencing. We're coming out of years and years and multiple generations of, illusion, really, where like we're in survival mode, where anxiety is normal, where we don't know if we're going to be able to, if there's enough for everybody, where we're fighting each other and in competition for each other and like killing each other and believing somehow that you and I are not the same things. We're coming out of the illusion of separation is what's happening on the planet right now, and we're moving into the awareness of unity consciousness, where we know that and can feel at a deep level, on a very deep level, that I am you and you are me, and if I fight you, I'm fighting me. It's nonsense. It's so backwards. And also that there is enough for everybody, that we are living in an abundant universe, that we are connected intrinsically to the planet and to each other. Quantum physics is proving all of this right now. Science and spirituality are merging, and we get to witness the whole thing. How fucking cool is that we're alive right now? Yeah, it's fucking hard. Yeah, we're moving through some seasons where we're like, I don't even know if I want to be here right now. Yes, we're having to feel all of these feelings, and yes, sometimes it feels like the previous generations have left a fucking shitstorm on planet Earth for us to come and deal with. But guess what? We came here to help shift this whole collective paradigm away from illusion and fear and confusion into unity consciousness, where we are loving each other, where we are holding the frequency and the vibration within our very beings, and that vision of world peace that we know, our hearts know is possible. Our heart and our soul knows that world peace is possible, and it's coming. It's coming. It's inevitable. It's either going to be world peace, or we're going to destroy ourselves, and then as souls we'll just have to incarnate on another planet. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm here for the world peace bit. That's why there's more people here than ever on planet Earth. I mean, there's more souls incarnated than ever. People are coming in droves here to experience this huge transformation, this portal that we're in, where Earth moves from the old, confused illusion and delusion and confusion into this grand new earth paradigm. And if you are resonating with what I'm saying right now, then you know, and your soul knows, that you are here to hold that frequency in the physical body, to do the work to cleanse and detoxify the mind and the physical body, to hold higher frequencies, so that you are taking more sunlight, more light, more consciousness, more energy, and holding that light within your body, and you will know that you are glowed up. People will see you and you are lit. You are fucking magnetizing things towards you. People will wonder what's going on. Some people will be like, whoa, you look great. And you feel something about you. Like you've got this high vibration feeling. Like, what, like, have you cut your hair? Like, no, I'm just doing my fucking shadow work and I'm alchemizing darkness into light. And I'm changing my density lead into gold, into energy. And I'm lighter because of it. And the sun is shining beautifully through here right now. Are you feeling me right now? Do you feel this? You feel that? That's worth getting up in the morning for. That's worth sticking around for, just in case it happens. I want to participate in it. We are participating in it. If you're here on Earth right now, you're participating in the collective shift. And thank you for being here. Every time that you feel your feelings, every time that you allow those feelings to rise up and be felt and expressed and transmuted within you, you are doing that not just for you, but for the collective. And not just the collective right now, but the future collective. Everything that we heal now doesn't have to be healed by future generations. They'll just have to heal from some other bullshit that we pass down, of course. But we break in chains here. We are breaking chains. Ancestral healing is going down. And if you're feeling this right now, thank you for being here. I see you. I love you. I'm here for you. And I'm fucking excited, basically. Fucking amped. We got this. The light always wins. I love you. Go and check out my Patreon. Let me know what you think in the comments.